Picture this. We're standing in a courtyard. The air hot and muggy around us as only tropical air can be. It's sweet air, filled with the scent of the white flowers which fall from a twisted tree in the center of the courtyard. Picture children laughing, calling to each other, filing out of their small classrooms to have recess in this courtyard. Picture April 17th, 1975, when it all changed. Many of those children, their teachers, families, friends, would soon die in this place. Imagine Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge taking control of Cambodia. The school became Tu Slang Prison, a true house of horrors. 20,000 people were taken from their families. 20,000 human beings like you and me were thrown into classrooms with shuttered windows and chained to bare metal bed frames. They were tortured there. I can only imagine what it would be like to have my fingernails ripped off, my bones broken, be burned, to be submerged to the point of near drowning. No one escaped the Khmer Rouge. The beds stand in pairs or alone in dark corners of rooms that even Dante himself couldn't have dreamed up. Pictures of the last tortured inmates hanging above them. Outside along the halls, thousands upon thousands of other portraits hang. The Khmer was really good about keeping track of who came into the prison, but there was no point in keeping track of who left. Pardon me. In the end, of the 20,000 people who entered that prison, only 7 left alive. All we have left of the other 19,993 are those pictures hanging on the walls. Their faces stand out, portraying just pure human emotion. Some are desperate, some despairing. Some show a last glimmer of hope. In one corner, a young woman cradles her baby, her face a mask of numb loss. It doesn't end there. If we leave the ghosts of those broken people behind and move to the killing fields, we find thousands more. Shallow pits in the grassy ground mark mass graves, one after another. In one, 700 people were piled carelessly together, their bodies left to rot after being brutalized to death by Pol Pot's men. Pol Pot wasn't exactly a considerate guy. If you died at the hands of his men, it was done with simple farm tools, hammers, axes, whatever was handy at the time. Babies were killed by being beaten to death against a tree. Can you imagine watching your friends, family members, everyone you know and love be killed that way? 2 years ago, I walked where they died, stepping over their jawbones, pieces of bone that have worked their way up from the dirt, and horror doesn't begin to describe what I was feeling. Guess how much I found in my friend's high school textbook about Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge, and all these atrocities that happened? Exactly 1 paragraph. You know why? Because at the time, it felt irrelevant to us. The Cambodians were the ones who were suffering. What did it matter to us? I've been traveling full-time with my family since I was 11. As part of my education, we visited every inhabited continent except for South America so far. We took about a year to bicycle across Europe and Northern Africa, and since then have used just about every form of transportation you can imagine, including camels and also elephants to get around. So if there's anything I've learned from my time on the road, it's that the them versus us mentality that people worldwide exhibit is flawed. We're on this earth as one collective of human beings. Walking in Cambodia, looking at the bits of bone coming up from under my feet, I realized that we can't think of these moments as just statistics in a history book. I mean, we still treat a lot of world issues today as being out of our control, and it's not something that we're responsible for. It's amazing, our ability to be bystanders in a world that's torn apart by pain and suffering and all these horrible things that are happening. We can walk past the homeless, we can turn off our televisions and pretend that what's happening around the world is not our problem, but it is our problem. It's our responsibility as world citizens to do what we can to make a positive impact in the world around us and the people around us. So how many of you have heard the line, the opposite of a hero is a bystander, like in the past week for this conference? I absolutely love that because it's so true. It doesn't take much to be a hero. All you have to do is be willing to look for the ways you can make a change in the world around you. We're surrounded by everyday heroes. For example, Dwayne Forrest, if I can get this clicker to work. This man is one of my personal heroes. I was 14 when we met Dwayne in Guatemala, and he inspires me so much. As it turned out, he was going around the world playing his guitar in order to raise money for an organization that he called the Genesis Community of the Arts. Dwayne put together this community in order to give children in the Honduras a chance to get an arts education. So because these kids never really get the chance or the tools to cultivate creativity in their lives, they don't know how to find creative solutions to problems or create jobs for themselves. So Dwayne, he saw that situation and he made a change in it. And that's one of the things that makes him a hero to me. Heroes, they're everywhere. Phil Gaiman, a guy from Iowa we met while backpacking in Central America, he's a hero to me. His dad works at a business which sets up windmills all around the world that pump water. So Phil's been doing that, and he also travels in his spare time, and he's definitely not a bystander. When he sees something that's wrong with the world, he finds out what he can do to help fix it. So Phil and his brother recently they shipped a box of windmill parts to Malawi in Africa, and they built a windmill for a village there so that they could have water. So that Phil is another hero. That he's just a normal guy that I met on the road, and he's a hero to me. Heroism runs in my family as well. I view my parents as being heroes for doing, they had the guts to leave their jobs and to start traveling worldwide with us. And they risked a lot doing that, and it's just incredible that they were able to do that for me. So I'm not the only one they've been a hero to, though. There's countless backpackers and people in need worldwide who they've blessed. My mom, she managed to help our Guatemalan friend sell her weavings online so that she'd managed to find creative modern ways to take what she knows how to do, and make a business out of it. My grandmother on my mom's side runs an organization which provides Guatemalan women with stoves so they don't spend hours every day bending over fires in clay huts. If they do that, most of them will actually go blind by 40. So you can see that I've been raised in the tradition of taking action when I see something wrong with the world, and this has only been reinforced by my time on the road. Because of the way I've been raised, I've seen for myself the issues that everyday people struggle with worldwide, and that's given me the tools that I need to take risks and to be empathetic and to be brave enough to follow my own dreams. So my true passion lies with the indigenous children of Guatemala. 4 years ago, when we were living at Lago da Titla in Guatemala, I was invited to go up into the highlands to visit a school run by an organization called COE Guatemala. COE Guatemala creates sustainable computer, book, reading and scholarship programs in schools like this one. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you see that's wrong with this picture? None of the students have textbooks. More than 90% of Guatemalan schools can't afford to use textbooks. Students end up copying down the teacher's notes off of a blackboard, and not surprisingly, this results in such a lack of motivation and interest in what's going on that most of them drop out before 3rd grade. Also, the teachers very rarely can speak any of the 21 unique Mayan dialects. So if you put a kid in a school where no books are used and they can't understand what the teacher is saying, can you really expect them to finish what they're doing? COE Guatemala had just added this school to its list of 164, and I was honored to get to be there for their inauguration ceremony. What they do is they go in and they have families rent their books for about $1.50 a month, and then by the end of the year, they've saved up enough that they can buy new ones. They also teach the teachers to speak the proper languages so that kids can get the educations they need. So because someone saw this situation and did something about it, over 23,000 lives have been changed. Did you know that unless more Mayan kids get the chance to make it through high school, they're never going to get high-paying jobs, and the cycle of poverty here is going to remain unbroken indefinitely? At 14, that blew my mind. Education was something that I've always taken for granted, or I had taken for granted. I immediately started a fundraiser to help these kids, and it's become my biggest dream since, to work with these organizations to teach English around the world so that maybe I can change, not the world, but a few lives at a time. In a world like ours, I don't believe that being a bystander is a choice I can make in good conscience. The world is never going to stop needing heroes. That doesn't mean that I want to change the world. That's another thing that I just wanted to quickly make a note on. I've heard a lot of kids around my age talk about how they want to change the world, and I found it to be a completely unrealistic goal. The world is constantly changing, guys. It's not going to stop changing. We're insignificant when it comes to world change because the universe is so massive, we're not going to be able to change everything about it. So I would encourage you not to change the world. Instead, it's done a decent job of that on its own. Instead, work to be a positive part of the changes that are already going on around you. We're writing human history as we speak, and we can't afford to be bystanders in that. Some people justify being a bystander by saying that they don't have the resources or the time. So check this out. This is Lang On. Lang lives in Cambodia. He was a kid when Pol Pot invaded, which was what I was talking about originally. And his mother and sister were taken away, and his father was murdered in front of him by soldiers. He is nothing. And yet he told us that as a young adult, he saw other orphans living in the streets, and he realized that he had a moral obligation to help them out. So he and his wife, Sri, now care for over 30 children in their home. He created an organization called the ODA, or Opportunities of Development Through Art. This provides Lang's kids, among others, with the chance to make it through school and to learn and to take their art and English skills out and make businesses out of them. You know, like the saying, you teach a man to fish, right? He'll feed himself forever. So this one man who lost so much, he took this opportunity to change the lives of others, even though he had nothing. I mean, how many of us can say the same, right? So I'm now in my 7th year of living on the road full time, and I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for that. I wouldn't be the same person I am. And I'm so grateful for the gifts that I've been given in those experiences, and I refuse to waste those gifts. Life on the road has brought me face to face with the situations I've told you about. I know those people. I'm friends with them. Being friends with them has taught me how to empathize with other people and other cultures that are in these situations. I can't see the struggles that are happening all around the world and not see that the people who are involved are just that, people. People with emotions and families and stories, people who matter, whose struggles are our problem. I've learned that it's important that we not be afraid to take risks. Stepping out of a comfort zone to take a risk and be a hero, of course that's risky. Travel involves risk-taking, but let's face it, all of life involves risk-taking. Staying at home and not being a part of a change, that's not going to change that at all. This conference, this is a risk for me. Stepping up here and talking to you guys, that's definitely stepping out of my comfort zone. But guys, that's what it takes to be your own hero, to follow your dreams. In the end, you're going to find that it's worth it, and you're going to find that you're not alone. Heroes are everywhere. So I challenge you to put yourself out of your comfort zone and to confront the problems of the world. Be the change you want to see. Travel where you can. Oh, come on. Blah. This thing is not working. It's like I've got my lightsaber and it's malfunctioning. Travel where you can, because you'll learn more than you can imagine about who you are and how many things you have in common with your neighbors in Borneo and Argentina and Sudan. Be willing to take risks. Talk to people. Seek the heroes around you out. Find ways to do what you can to make a difference. Whether it be in a far-off country or right here in Flint, Michigan, guys. The world needs you. Don't let your chance pass you by. Be a hero. Thank you.